Hello there, lovely people. I hope you're keeping super well. Welcome to 5 Things on My Mind, a segment where I love to engage you guys on topical issues around us. Sorry if there's a bit of ambience. It's like 7:15 in the morning, and I live not too far from the road. Huru might wake up at any minute. So I'm going to try and do this first. The number one thing on my mind, and this is stranger than fiction, guys, for those who don't know, pregnancy comes with very strange cravings. You know, I suddenly started craving soap, sabuni, this one, which I love to talk about all the time, Lifebuoy. But now it's like, there's a time I was washing my hands and I wanted to eat it, and I thought, okay, you're pregnant, maybe this means you're lacking something in your body. So I looked it up, and apparently it's part of a syndrome called pica syndrome. Now, pica syndrome, on a larger scale, it's actually a very serious, for lack of a better word, disorder. But when it's translated into pregnancy, this is how it's defined. Pica is the practice of craving substances with little or no nutritional value. Most pregnancy and pica related cravings involve non-food substances like dirt or chalk or soap. The word pica is Latin for magpie, which is a bird notorious for eating almost anything. And I was like, man, it makes sense. And then I was seeing all these women commenting on a thread saying, yeah, I used to carry around a bar of soap in my bag and just sniff it or lick it. So y'all, don't judge preggers, people. We just go through a lot in our bodies like this right now. I want to do things to this bar of soap other than wash my hands with it, but I'm going to be strong. You know, this Lifebuoy that comes with its own soap dish, which is one of my favorite products, and I'm going to keep it for hand washing to save lives. The second thing on my mind, that's TCAHealth.org. That's TICAH. They are an organization based in Kenya that deal with a lot of sexual and reproductive rights. But what stood out for me was their Aunty Jane helpline. Now, it's been around for a couple of years. I think they told me since 2013. But it's incredible because it's a helpline where women are able to get a lot of questions answered on sexual and reproductive rights, men as well. And they were kind enough to gift me with this incredible t-shirt. I think they say their merchandise is available on their website, which I will link below. They have this calendar which has some great information on it as well, and some great sayings from civil rights leaders to some of our Kenyan icons as well. But what I really loved is the ability to be able to call a helpline and ask a lot of questions that you're otherwise hesitant to get information on, given that it's such a personal matter. Do I have an STD? My period is late. I'm not sure I want to take a pregnancy test. Can you help me? And the counselors and volunteers are on the line. I believe it's 24/7. I will leave the link below. You can call them, you can try them. We know that sexual and reproductive rights is such a huge issue and a growing issue in Kenya because of lack of information. So the Aunty Jane hotline is a live counseling hotline and an interactive voice response system, meaning women can access information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in English and in Kiswahili. And Aunty Jane gives safe, reliable information on sexual and reproductive health, including information on postpartum hemorrhage prevention, contraception, unwanted pregnancy, and safe abortion. And it's aimed at enabling more and more Kenyan women make safe and healthy choices for themselves. We don't tell anyone what they should do, and that's a very important disclaimer. I believe when they feel like it's a problem much larger than what's in their domain, they're able to then refer you to certain experts. So please check them out. I will link that helpline in the description box below as well, just to find out. You can call them, you can find out more about TCAT Health and how you can be involved. So that's the second thing on my mind this week. The number 3 thing on my mind, and sorry if the light keeps changing, it's getting brighter and brighter as day breaks, is people living with bipolar disorder. There is a video on my channel that shows a young man I interviewed who's been living with bipolar since 2011, although he even traces it back further to when he was in high school. I think what I've been really trying to make sense of in my mind is, how can friends and family be there for someone living with bipolar? Him and his friend in the video touched on it a little bit, but I wanted to mention at least 3 ways in which people can be there for those living with bipolar. The first thing that came out is that they both say, just listen, you know, because a lot of people who live with bipolar, and he just said, just listen to someone find out where they're coming from without passing any judgment. Let's say if you're the person who's noticed something's wrong with your friend, you can just say, I've noticed that you've been erratic in your behavior and I'm not really understanding what's going on. Could you talk to me? And then just listen to them without saying, well, I didn't know that. How was I supposed to know you had something going on? So the first way is just to listen. The second way is to lend a helping hand in whichever way you can. Again, sometimes you'll be dealing with an individual who's blowing hot and cold, or whose mood swings are very erratic, and sometimes even you wanting to listen to them may not work because they don't want to speak about it at a certain time. When they do want to talk about it, listen. And when you feel like you've begun to understand where they're coming from, it's to lend a helping hand and just say, what can I do? So lend a helping hand genuinely from the bottom of your heart. And the other thing, I think the final way that you can be there for someone with bipolar is to spend time together. Bipolar comes with individuals not wanting to break out of their shell or their hole, and they'd rather sometimes lock themselves up for a period of time because they don't really want to engage with the public. And once you're able to break down certain barriers in that relationship, it's to say, let's go for a movie, let's go for a coffee, let's again take you to treatment. Supporting them in treatment, I know, is a huge deal. Being patient and being present, I believe, even based on the people I've spoken to, are some of the greatest ways that you can be there for someone living with bipolar or any other personality disorder. I'm going to link a contact on the description box below for where you can call a counseling center if you feel like you or your friend might be suffering from bipolar. The fourth thing on my mind is putting in the work to get the results that you want in your life. Now, I know this sounds so vague and so out of the blue, but it's just that I interact with a lot of people who say they want to be in the line of media, whether it's digital media, or they want to make it to the top fast. I think what I can say to that is there is so much work that goes on behind the scenes. And someone may not document the grunting and the blood and the sweat and the tears and the bad days and the horrible days. And they may showcase a finished product for various reasons. One, maybe they're not ready to show you that yet. Maybe that was a very vulnerable space for them before they were able to succeed in their life. And success, again, is very relative. Early days, early mornings, trying to balance, in my case, a family and trying to maintain projects and partnerships. It's not easy, and a lot of the time there's moments of mourning and saying, why am I doing this? Like, this is really hard, this is really difficult, this is taking its toll. If it's taking away from my happiness, I put it aside for a minute. But if I feel like it's just a matter of gritting my teeth and saying, right, I'm gonna get this done, then that's what I do. So you have to understand what it takes in terms of putting in the work to get to where you want to go. So be very clear about your vision. Begin to understand or formulate the vision for the kind of life you want, the kind of work that you want to do, and then begin to do a lot of research on people who've been successful in that field. You'll get little tidbits of what they were able to practice each day as a step towards their goal, and it'll encourage you to make tiny little steps towards that, as opposed to feeling like I need to be great tomorrow. And so that's kind of been weighing on my mind. If you do want to see a full video on that, link it down below. I'll try my very best to film that for you. And the fifth thing on my mind, again, goes abroad to the US. This is about Ilhan Omar, a 36-year-old Somali immigrant in the US who is likely to win a really big seat in the state of Minnesota, which is insane. She's a 36-year-old Somali refugee who immigrated the United States as a teenager, beat a packed field of 6 candidates in the race to fill the current representative seat in Minnesota State. There is a projection that if she wins, as expected in November, she would make history as one of the first Muslim women in Congress in the US. She's the first Somali American Muslim to be elected in the Minnesota legislature or any elected office in the US. But I was kind of blown away by her story when I was reading it, because in a time when there's so much racism and Islamophobia, especially in a country like the US, she's breaking barriers, because you'll notice that there's a huge group of people who are largely tolerant. Her policies and her outlook on life and her vision are making her a ripe candidate to represent the state. So that's on my mind because A, I love girl power, you know that. B, I do love talking about issues around race and ethnicity because I think it's a very important conversation in our time. But more than anything, I love seeing a person power through all the hate and all the barriers to break through and say, I can do it. I'm a beacon of hope for those who never thought they could. So I can't wait to see what her story will pan out to be, and I'm wishing her all the very best. So those are the 5 things on my mind today. I hope you like them, and please continue to give the videos that I put out a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you so much as always for staying with my channel, and I will see you back here very soon. Bye.